at the time is now 7:04. I would like to call to order the Thursday, December 16th edition of the Norton Select Board meeting. Let the record show that all 5 members are present, including Town Manager Michael Units. Welcome everybody to our lovely meeting tonight. Since we are not in person, we'll pass over the Pledge of Allegiance. And at that, I'll open it up to public comments. So I do see we have a fair number of folks on here. If there is something either on the agenda that you would like to speak to, or something that's not on the agenda that you would like to share, please indicate by raising your hand within the Zoom client, and we'll go around. I see Peter, so why don't we start with you, Peter?
Hi everybody, today on Tuesday at Walgreens in Norton, I got my booster shot, and I'm asking everyone to get vaccinated and get boosted, and don't be afraid of this Omicron variant because it's just a mild cold, and don't listen to fear and listen to positive.
All right, thank you, Peter, for sharing the importance of the any booster shots and vaccinations as we deal with yet another winter surge. Thank you for sharing that. I see no one else having raised their hand, so we will then move into appointments, resignations, and retirements. First up, we have the appointment of Stephen L. Bernstein to the Water Sewer Commission.
Mr. Chairman,
Mike, take it away.
if we could hold off on this till the next meeting. The Water and Sewer Commissioners couldn't make it tonight, and they will be able to attend the first meeting in January, and this would be a joint appointment of the 2 boards.
Very good. I see no issue with that. Since it is a joint appointment, we can't really do it without them. So let's do our first punt of the evening, all the way into next year. Quite a kick. Which brings us up to licenses and permits, our final edition of the 2022 license renewals. I am reading our agenda packet off of my phone, and it looks like we only have 1 page. Anybody want to volunteer to run through?
I'll run it. I'll read it, Jack.
All right, Mike, take it away.
All right. 2022 renewal licenses. Do you want me to just read them, or do you read the classifications as well? So
I think you can just read through.
Common Vic license. HH and SH Corporation doing business as Main Street Pizzeria, 63 East Main Street, Common Vic. New England Rodeo, 185 North Washington Street, Common Vic. Actually, can I stop there before I read and prove this? Mike, will you always get us information regarding the live entertainment? That's why they were moved to this week.
So their live entertainment permit that they have, license, excuse me, is till 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And
Yep. And did I cut you off there as well, Mike?
no, go ahead.
Maybe if I can start again, Mr. Chairman. Common Vic license renewals. HH and SH Corporation doing business as Main Street Pizzeria, 63 East Main Street, Common Vic. New England Rodeo, 185 North Washington Street, Common Vic, and live entertainment. Produce Barn Incorporated doing business as Produce Barn, 72 Mansfield Avenue, Common Vic. I'd like to make a motion to approve those.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, 2 seconds, which is twice as good. No further discussion. We'll go to the roll call. Renee?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
I too am a yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Michael? Mike?
when you get to the next 2 for Goose Brook Garage, if you could make your motion to approve, but with the license being held until town departments, inspection and fire and Board of Health are satisfied with all measures that they want addressed.
Okay. We'll do.
All right. You got that, Michael? You want to take it away?
Yep. And this is for, this section is for Class 1 agents and sellers license, Class 2 used car dealer license, Class 3 motor vehicle junk license. I'm going to start with the bottom first. Old Colony Cars, Inc., 350 Old Colony Road, subject to receipt of $25,000 bond, Class 2 license. Motion to approve.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. All right, second from Christine. Seeing no
Discussion, Jack?
Discussion, Renee.
Mike, I was listening to what you said. I'm just wondering why don't we just move this to a future agenda where the requests from the inspections department and the others are fulfilled? Why even approve it contingent upon that to happen?
You could do that, that's fine too. Because it's not like a liquor license where, there's a deadline.
So can we take the one and then we can discuss if we're going to kick that other one off, Mr. Chairman?
So I would raise that if we do approve it tonight, they would be able to basically resume operations or continue operations immediately upon fulfilling the requirements set forth in a motion versus needing to wait potentially up to 2 weeks for our next meeting. So I think functionally, as long as the requirements of the town are being met, I see no problem approving it tonight, but again, leave it to the discretion of the board.
I mean, Jack, my only issue on this is they've been following up multiple times. Like, I understand that, but at this point, like, to approve it based on convenience to them, this should have been taken care of before. So,
Renee, I agree with you. Can we just take this vote? The motion isn't about Goosebrook. It's about Old Colony Cars.
okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, yeah, nope, point taken. Yeah, let's do that one.
So Mr. Chairman, I made a motion to approve Old Colony Cars, and then we can continue the discussion about the other one.
So we had a second from Christine. So hold the discussion on Goosebrook to those. So we'll go through the vote. Renee?
1 second, Jack. Michael, I didn't catch if you read that. Is it subject to receipt of a $25,000 bond?
I did read that.
Okay. Yes, Jack.
Okay. Meg?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
2 and yes.
I'm sorry, I apologize if you were trying to point out, like, why don't we kick all these 3 off until the receipt of the bond and those other things. I apologize, though. I just thought you were questioning on the Goosebrook about the pending Board of Health and fire inspection.
No, that's fine, Michael. I think they're different situations anyway. I mean, one is subject to the bond. It's not like there's been a history of non-compliance.
Should I make the motion and then move into discussion, Jack?
We can have a discussion before we do the motion. How do people feel on either holding off or approving it on contingency?
I would lean towards approving it with contingencies, but it's not something that I'm overly passionate about.
I would as well, just because we keep kicking everything to the next meeting. So.
Well, we do, but in this case, I mean, this isn't because we keep taking everything to the next meeting. It's because they haven't done what's been asked of them. We can go ahead and approve it if that's the majority's wish. That's fine.
Let me make the motion and then we can take the vote on yay, nays, or just discussion. Let's make the motion. I'm sorry. Let's make the motion to approve Goosebrook Garage and Recycling LLC doing business as Goosebrook Garage, 3016th Street, Class 2. Goosebrook Garage and Recycling LLC doing business as Goosebrook Garage, 3016th Street, Class 3 license, pending Board of Health and fire inspection approvals.
For your second?
Second.
Okay, second from Meg. Any further discussion before we vote? See none. Renee?
No.
Meg?
Yes.
Christine?
No.
Michael? Michael?
Yes, yes.
I too am a yes. Squeaks through. Does that end our licenses for the year, Mike? No surprise meetings the week between Christmas and New Year's to take care of the stragglers?
I don't plan on any surprise meetings. I think the stragglers should suffer the consequences myself. Is there only one straggler, Jen?
No.
There are two.
Two.
One's a class 2 license, I believe, and the other one is a common vic.
Okay. Well,
And the one is a frequent straggler.
Yes.
right.
It's pretty impactful.
It gets frustrating.
I get it. But let me ask you this, Mike. Is there a benefit, to add a fine system here? Is it, I know we don't have one in place. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm speaking to the town manager. Is it okay if I ask the town manager some questions?
Yes, I think we go through this every meeting, Michael. I'm not one to stand on formality, so
All
you
right.
need to check with me.
Mike, I know that we don't currently have a fine mechanism in place for licenses. And is it something that we should, as a board, look at implementing or not implementing? Is it just, because a fine is quite different than obviously shutting a business down. And again, if they don't have a license, they don't have a license, but I don't know how to fix the behavior. I guess that's really and is it our, especially on a common vic, like this one, people are going to notice and that this isn't open if it's not. If it doesn't.
Yeah, I think what we should look at is in the future, we'll alert people that if they don't renew by the deadline, we'll consider it a new application and they'll have to pay as if it's a new application rather than just a renewal.
Right. And just a follow-up question is, these are all, Jen, and you've done an amazing job kind of getting these up to, where we came from prior to you a couple of years ago. Are these done all electronically yet or no?
Not yet. I'm in queue of getting up on Permitize. There were a couple of departments ahead of me, so it just wasn't done in time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No problem. Thank you for that, everybody. And thank you, Jen, for wrangling a couple hundred of these folks in a short order. Appreciate that.
Welcome.
All right. Seeing no other licenses and permits, we move to announcements, and this is an exciting one. Christine, I don't know if there's something in the packet you'd like to read about this.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff we can talk about with this. So last weekend, the U12 and U10 cheerleading squads for Norton went down to Florida to compete in the national championships. And the pardon me as I get it, the U12, I believe, won the national championships, and then U10 came in third place. So congratulations to all of those involved, all the cheerleaders, all the coaches, the trainers, the parents, the families that came around and got them to win the national championship. So that's amazing for the town. First time in Norton history. And then they're also, along with that, there's going to be a rolling rally on Sunday, December 19th, starting at 10 a.m. Both the 10U and 12U cheerleaders will be coming down the JCS to the pit field behind the Yell School. And then at 10:30 at the pit field, there's going to be a little celebration for them. So, if you're around on Sunday, definitely show them some support and some love and congratulate them on their fantastic victories.
I see a lot of young faces on tonight's meeting. Do we have Mr. Chairman, do we have numbers of some of these squads online?
Yep, I think I saw Allison on there. Yep, I see the hand up now too. Welcome. Please introduce yourself and share your excitement.
My voice is gone from yelling positive things at the competition, but I'm one of the 12U coaches, and I just wanted to thank everybody in town for their support. It was absolutely amazing to take first place in nationals against, there's so many hundreds of teams that get to this, that have to go to get to this point in time. To come in the top 5 for Super Sunday and then take it all was just amazing. So I just want to thank everybody in town for their support. We really, really appreciate it. So, and we hope to see you all at the rally on Sunday.
Excellent. And how many teams were competing in this? It's a lot.
It starts out usually, you kind of go from states, so you'll have EMAS, then it goes from states to the New England region. And if you will go against teams from Connecticut, New Hampshire, Maine, and whatnot. And then once you come in at that level, you'll go against the other teams in the country. So the 12U team is unbeaten across the board for the Invitational, the EMAS, and regionals now in the country. So we're pretty proud of these girls. They worked so hard, lots and lots of hours that go into it.
Absolutely incredible. Well, congratulations to your kids and to yourself and your fellow coaches for doing all that. It's absolutely incredible.
Our 10U girls are pretty amazing too. And Coach Melanie's on, I'm going to put her on the spot right now too, but they did a wonderful job.
Hi, my name is Melanie Masuda. I am the 10U head coach for Norton Town Cheer. We did really well this season as well. For locals, we were first place, and we also got the first ever title of Grand Champions. Norton has never had that ever in history, so that was pretty cool. And then we went to states and regionals, and we were regionals first place champions. States was second place, and then we did go down to Florida, and we brought back third place for Norton 10U. It's been pretty exciting for us as well. This is my first year in the full competition mode of cheer, and we appreciate all the sponsorships and all the help the whole town has given us. We couldn't really have done it without you guys. Thank you.
Well, congratulations again. Any other comments, or either from board members or anyone else that's on from the public tonight?
Congrats on a job well done.
So I would just say, Mr. Chairman, on Facebook they had a picture of all the girls on the stairs, and they try to look very mean. It was to have these beautiful girls look mean was not.
Okay, so I have to clarify the mean face for a second, because that seems to have been kind of interesting back and forth. A lot of people don't understand really what goes into cheer as a sport. It's not just the sidelines with the pom-poms. These girls are tumbling, they're stunting, and there's a pretty intense dance sequence. So that picture was taken prior to the first competition day. So that's their mean mugging face. So if you scroll, and I put the picture down, if you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see their faces when they're laughing and what they're doing called girl boss. But it's just a picture to kind of show, hey, listen, we're just as tough as a basketball player, a football player, a soccer player. And again, people still have the stereotype of cheer, and it's not that at all. So that's their game face, as we'd like to say.
Oh, and I interpreted it as that. It was because I got to see several photos online, and it was great. I laughed at the mean face, because even when they're trying to be mean, serious, like
no, that's their tough face. That face came along probably about 2 hours after we won, with the parents taking pictures. They had just had enough. So, but that's their game face, and but honestly, they are happy all the time. And if you scroll down more on Norton Acres, you will see like some of the pictures that were posted from them performing on the mat. So again, thank you all for everything. We wouldn't have been able to do what we did if it wasn't from the support of everybody in town. So thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday for the rolling rally. Looks like the weather's going to be very nice. All right, and after the rolling rally, while you're out and about looking for something to do, at noon at St. Mary's Cemetery is the Wreaths Across America ceremony. Please consider joining us. That is open to the public this year after being closed last year for COVID reasons. So
That's Saturday.
Is it Saturday, Peter?
Yes, Saturday.
I got my days mixed up. So never mind. If you'd like
That's
to
what
prepare
we
for the exciting day on the Rolling Rally, then on Saturday at noon, you should go to St. Mary's and take part in Wreaths Across America. Absolutely amazing event. A big weekend for town. Thank you, Peter, for correcting me.
Yeah, and on top of that, Jack, if anybody wants to donate a wreath, they're still, collecting wreaths, and if it's not for this year, it'll be for next year. It's on the town hall website, just nortonma.org. It's right on the homepage, almost the first thing you see. You can just click on that, and it takes you right to the link to donate.
All right, wonderful, Christine. Thank you.
And I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead, Peter.
I was thinking of going, but it's going to be raining. But I got other plans. Is that okay?
All right. It'll be fine. That event goes rain or shine to honor our veteran community. So we will be there, and it'll be delightful. All right. Any other members of the board have announcements they'd like to share this evening?
Yeah, Jack, sorry. I missed the agenda by 5 minutes. Jen told me when I sent over the announcements. So I just have 2 more. On Monday, December 20th, 5 to 8 p.m. is the Parents' Night Out presented by the Norton High School class of 2024. It's $20 per child, $50 for family cap. It says you can drop off your little ones with Norton High School students and chaperones and enjoy a night out. You can get your holiday shopping done. And again, this is Monday the 20th. You just have to fill out the Google form by December 17th, tomorrow. And then just one more quick announcement. On top of that, the National Business Honor Society is running a family holiday bingo at the library. This is Saturday, December 18th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the again, Norton Public Library in the community room. You can play bingo. It's for all ages, and the gift baskets and prizes are available to be won throughout the event.
Thank you, Christine. Anything else out there, folks? Mr. Cooper.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, I ended up hitting that by accident. But hey, listen, I just wanted to say thank you to the town. It was awesome. I mean, look at this right here. This is what it was all about. Our town came together. They performed unbelievably. The coaches were awesome. The way that everything was handled was awesome. Our community coming together was impressive. People just came out and helped these girls get where they needed to be. And I can't be any more proud. That's all I had to say.
Thank you.
You are very welcome, and thank you for bringing so much excitement and joy to the town. It's a great relationship. All right. Seeing no other announcements, Mike, we can jump into new business. First of which is discussion and a vote to award the Sursage DPW services for February 1st, 22 to January 31st, 23.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These are for services that the DPW would utilize. I said DPW, you haven't created that. The Highway Department. And the contracts are for crack sealing, line painting, anything guardrails, snow shoveling on roofs, tree removal, and asphalt paving and curbs. So if there's anything in there that wants me to talk, I'll just let you know that when it comes to the last 3 pages, so paving and curbing and edging, it's a last year of a 3-year contract, so there's no increase in any of those for this year. They're holding to the prices.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike. Any questions for this?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mike, can you just, Southeast Regional Service Group, maybe I missed this last year, or I didn't ask the question. What is that exactly?
Southeast Regional Services Group is a group of about 18 towns that we're all together so we can go out as a group on bids for these type of services. And we also buy our office supplies as part of this group also.
So this is still that group. That isn't a company. We're bidding it out, and we basically did a bid with some manufacturers for these services, and this is the pricing that we all agreed on.
Correct.
Thank you. Sorry, that's what I thought, but I just wanted to make sure.
Any other questions? All right. Seeing none, Chair would entertain a motion to approve the language Sursage DPW services for 2/1/22 to 1/31/23.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We'll go to the vote. Renee?
Yes.
Meg?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
All right. I too am a yes. All right. Next up, we'll turn this over to Renee and Mike for discussion and or vote to approve an HCA to Queensbridge. So Renee, I'll turn over to you, I think, at this point.
Great, thanks, Jack. So we have a couple people to present on this tonight. There are a few items, and I thought we would just kind of go chronologically on those items. Queensbridge came to us, I want to say the first engagement was around May, so we've been working with them for a while through the EDC, and then Mike and I worked with them through the negotiation of the host community agreement. Tiffany Eisen is on, and she'll be presenting to the board. What I'd like to do beforehand, though, is just as a wrap up for the EDC. Laura Parker is also on, and she'll represent a piece of the document that I submitted to the board. So a couple of things on this. Typically, we have the EDC has provided the board with a recommendation. This time, the EDC didn't feel that they were in a position to do that. So in lieu of that, we prepared a document to speak to some of the comments that we had as a result of discussion with the applicant and then amongst the EDC. So I'll ask Laura to speak to that first, and then I'll introduce Tiffany and another individual presenting tonight as well. So Laura, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. Hi, good evening. How's everybody?
Good, Laura.
Excellent.
So this is, as Renee had mentioned, proposal presented by Queensbridge for a cultivation, manufacturing, and transportation license. Upon review, the EDC put a list together of what we felt were their strengths and their concerns, which I'd like to go over at this time and answer any questions if there are any. Some of the strengths that we felt were that the experience and the expertise of some of the folks in their C-suite, the CEO, the COO, and the CSO specifically, as corrections officers within the Department of Corrections within Rhode Island, provided us with some comfort with their ability to understand and mitigate potential security concerns. We also felt that they have experience in marketing and had a strong marketing plan for their product. They proposed working with a botanist that had a very high level of experience and education in growing marijuana and who we felt would be an asset to the company. They proposed a very good odor mitigation plan utilizing a commercially available system that's been tested within this state. It's being used currently by Curaleaf and Cresco Labs. And there was some reference to experience in the legacy market, which we acknowledged. Some of the concerns that we noted were within the company's senior management, there is a lack of prior experience in the regulated marijuana industry in general, specifically in the areas of commercial cultivation, large-scale manufacturing. There were particular concerns about their understanding of the resources that might be needed and the waste that will need to be managed. With the exception of the CFO, there was really nobody with any business operation or business management experience within the C-suite. That includes both the proposed CEO and COO. Their financial projections and yield projections to us seemed overly optimistic and lacked some supporting data. As a result, we had some concerns that certain operational risks might arise, specifically related to environmental control and the physical security of the product and site if the expected yield and or revenues were not achieved. Given that this would be the first cultivation applicant with whom the town would enter into a host community agreement, we would expect them to be met with a lot of public and board scrutiny during the permitting process. The EDC feels that they might have an easier path if they had someone on staff with firsthand knowledge mitigating the types of issues and concerns that are related to commercial cultivation and manufacturing. We understand this is a relatively new permitted industry within Massachusetts, so we do understand that there are a few local opportunities for gaining that kind of practical experience. However, during the bid process for the retail applicants, the majority of the retail applicants that we reviewed did recognize that as a weakness and brought with them either industry partners or consultants with experience in the industry, experience navigating the state and local regulations, and in some cases they had both. And given the product that's being manufactured, the highly regulated nature of the industry, we would feel more comfortable if the company had either individuals within its senior management or outside partners or consultants with some commercial large-scale grow and manufacturing experience. Can I answer any questions?
Thank you, Laura. Open it up to questions from the board.
Okay, no questions. So Jack, just to add some context to that too, Laura hit on this in respect to, it being the first specifically for Norton. When we initially were doing the bylaw changes and we had information sessions and some meetings with some of the residents, the majority of the feedback was specifically around cultivation and about the odor from different cultivation facilities. So there was a lot of emphasis from the commission to really understand the business as well as mitigations in that respect. And I think we may have talked about when we were looking at the template for the HCA, and I'll talk about it later on after Tiffany presents. Mike and I worked with town council to make sure that we put in some controls so that we weren't in a position that some other towns have been where they've had odor problems and they haven't been able to, work to mitigate those for the residents. So with that being said, just an understanding of the board that from perspective of Norton, and it's all actually the cultivation, manufacturing, and transportation, they are all new for us. Being new isn't something we haven't done because we brought in the retailers that was new as well, and then the delivery operator. But just understanding the emphasis that the commission put on in reviewing this based on some of the history when this industry started to operate within Massachusetts. So I just provide that as information, but I will turn it over to Tiffany. I did ask her, as we've done before, to keep a presentation around 10 minutes to the board to allow us to ask questions and then also have time to review the HCA. So Tiffany, I know you said that you were going to speak as well as David Mellon, so I will turn it over to you. And if you need me to share the presentation or something, please let me know and I can pop that up on the screen.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all for having us here. I do have Dave Mellon here, who is going to do the opening and go through the presentation that we've prepared. It says we have capability to share here because I did update the title.
It says we can share.
Oh, it says we have the ability to share. Would you like us to share from here?
Yes, if you want to, sure.
Sure.
Good evening, honorable members of the select board. My name is David Mellon. I work for Queensbridge, Inc. with a corporate address of 263 Cole Street, Seacock, Mass. I'm here this evening to outline and summarize our proposal for cannabis license in the town of Norton. I trust you have already received written materials and have an opportunity to vet them. We've been corresponding back and forth with select board member Delay, and I'm in receipt of the finalized host community agreement. This evening, we are here to address any questions you might have about our company, our proposal, and our people. We have given several presentations over the past several months and expect that we have addressed your concerns throughout. We also expect that our communication and correspondence with the town, our professionalism, dedication, enthusiasm, and experience has been shown. Before I get into your questions and dialogue with you, I would like to say on behalf of Queensbridge, we're looking forward to joining with the town of Norton in a cooperative venture that will bring economic development to the town, that will bring tax revenue to the town, and also bring additional monies to the town for the betterment of the community. We also expect to bring our business to the town to enjoy a collaborative relationship with you as a responsible corporate citizen of Norton. We think that our business model overall and approach and partnership with Norton is something that will become a model for the other municipalities throughout the Commonwealth in this industry. As always, we thank you for your time and consideration on our proposal. And I'll now start with the PowerPoint presentation. Queensbridge is disadvantaged business enterprise.
Are you guys trying to share, or have you shared? Because we're not seeing anything on screen.
One sec, go to Edison, and then right there, just the bottom, right?
Click on the Zoom, share, and then click back on that PowerPoint. Click on that PowerPoint, bottoms up, nope, bottom left-hand side of the screen.
We're seeing the second page now.
Okay.
With your notes.
With the notes, take the notes out so they can see the line.
There we go.
All right, thank you. Queensbridge is a disadvantaged business enterprise and corporation, majority owned and operated and powered by Tiffany Isom, partnered with Kyle Sabo. While here today to propose our plan, not only to bring a community-based marijuana establishment to Norton, but our plan to utilize the resources of our company will create a bridge the gap between what is and what could be. Our company is comprised of an all-inclusive team with specialized skills in planning, cannabis security, state and municipality regulatory specialists, as well as mentorship with established and proven cannabis establishments nationwide. We are a vertically integrated company striving to establish an immediate entity here in Norton, cultivation, marijuana product manufacturing, and transportation. I'd like to introduce the Queensbridge executive team. Please note there have been considerable adjustments based on the Economic Development Commission's most recent recommendations. Team CEO and founder Tiffany Isom, CFO and co-founder Kyle Sabo, Chief Operating Officer Shane Darcy, Chief Security David Crusoe, Head Cultivator William Conley, Chief of Training Edward Pimbinger, and Timothy Kelly as Director of Transportation. Seth, as a contractor operational management team, as well as mentor and consultant group overseeing our order of operations and licensing. Queensbridge has secured a letter of intent to purchase the lot at 0 South Washington Street, Norton, Mass. In front of you is our proposed project overview, including a 25,000 square foot facility situated on the front end of the property. 16,000 square feet will be cultivation, 4,000 square feet manufacturing, and housing for transportation vehicles. Diving into Queensbridge's finances, we have submitted a commitment letter for $1.5 million, followed by an $8.5 million term sheet for purchase and estimated build out. At this time, I'm going to hand the presentation over to Zach Pilcher.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Zachary Pilcher. I'm the design and construction lead, as well as the general contractor for the project. My background is in large-scale commercial construction. Throughout my career, I've managed major construction projects, including high-rise construction, manufacturing facilities, academic construction for colleges and universities all across New England, as well as regulated cannabis cultivation construction experience, both in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. We're proposing a 25,000 square foot steel building, very similar to what you're seeing in the video, in the slide. The structure will be utilized for cultivation, manufacturing, as well as transportation of cannabis. Of the 25,000 square feet, 4,000 square feet of that would be manufacturing, 16,000 square feet, as Mr. Mellon said, would be cultivation, and the remainder would be support and ancillary space. As part of our due diligence, we've worked closely with Norton Fire Department, Conservation Commission, Water and Building Departments throughout all phases of the development. It is a primary priority of ours that we meet and exceed the requirements of each of those town entities. Additionally, Queensbridge is committed to recruiting local Norton vendors and subcontractors throughout construction. And also, if approved, all plans would be designed by a wetland scientist, civil engineer, and architect, obviously. So we put together some renderings of the building. Generally speaking, it's a rectangular prefabricated steel building, which would be adorned with cameras for security requirements all around, fencing for security all around. And this is just a simple look at what the building would look like generally from the outside. And keep going through the rest of those. But on the interior of the building, each flower room is kind of broken up into quadrants. You've got 4 main flower rooms, a main hallway through the center of the building, which would house all the irrigation equipment. And then at each end of the building, you've got vegetation space, mother rooms, cloning rooms, entry areas, bathrooms, other ancillary space, mechanical space as well. So that's the general layout of the building. So speaking to ventilation and odor mitigation, I'll break it down into 3 real components. The first piece is building envelope as related to ventilation and odor control. The second piece is building ventilation. And the third piece is specialized building odor mitigation equipment and exhaust equipment. So the first piece, with it being a steel building, we've got the frame and structure of the building, which would be fully insulated and clad with steel, corrugated steel cladding. On the interior of the insulation, you would have what's called a skyliner fabric, which is a relatively airtight envelope. And that's meant to explain that the building would be environmentally pretty tight to the elements. Inside of that, what it's standard practice to do is construct all the grow rooms out of insulated structural metal panels. As you can see in the next slide, you've got rooms that are built out of prefab panels. They're essentially cold room panels. So you see there's 2 kind of envelopes. There's the exterior envelope of the building, and then there's the envelope of the rooms itself. And you have an interstitial space between the 2 that allows you to control the air around the grow rooms a lot better. So in terms of ventilation, it's flower rooms, vegetation rooms get kind of a different treatment from the rest of the rooms in the space. We have more specialized AC and odor mitigation units in the actual growing rooms than we would in ancillary areas of the building, and I'll explain that on the next slide. So the HVAC systems that would be used for the grow areas are manufactured by a company called Quest Climate. Quest is a pretty high-end manufacturer of these units in the space. These are essentially large air handlers that are mounted outside on the ground. They're HEPA filtered and made to a very high standard. They're used for pretty broadly across the industry in this country and Canada. The compressor wall system is what the system is. It's a closed loop ducted system which allows in 10% outside air in ductwork with each cycle. In ancillary support areas, hallways, entry areas, bathrooms, we would use essentially mini split units, so there'd be no air exchange, just mini split cassettes on the walls. So as far as odor mitigation, you'd have your closed loop system, which you can see in the attached diagram. Each of those rooms would receive its own Quest unit, each of which would take in 10% outside air. That air is circulated throughout the rooms, scrubbed within the rooms by air scrubbers that are in the rooms, and then exhausted from the interstitial space only to the point that it's necessary to meet the balancing of the building. And an important point with exhaust, we would work with our designers and engineers to ensure that the exhaust is exhausted high enough from the roof of the building at the right velocity, so that it's not dropping back down to the ground. We want to stay up high and kind of spread out, without affecting anybody in the vicinity. So inside each grow room, additionally, we would have a number of units which are called clean leaf odor mitigation units. They're essentially fan coil HEPA filter units. There'd be a prescribed number of those in each room, which are just meant to scrub and filter the air of the odors. Also have additional air scrubbers that would be sitting on the floor throughout each room and all support spaces that serve basically the same purpose. And then smaller units mounted to the walls throughout the entire building would be a smaller scrubbing unit called a DXM ProGuard, which is also a miniature air scrubber. So we've got many different tiers of odor mitigation as well.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Next, operational plans and procedures. Queensbridge has developed in-depth operational plans for our proposed cultivation, manufacturing, and transportation licenses that either meet or exceed CCC requirements, regulations, and guidelines. Queensbridge operating plans are then broken down into standard operating procedures and quick reaction checklists for specialist functions within the organization and operations. SOPs and QRCs clarify and streamline operating procedures to promote safety, security, efficiency, compliance, and positive output. Queensbridge's compliance team will work with department heads and general managers to ensure that all policy and procedures are being met. Queensbridge will use an in-house professional audit tool to remain compliant in all necessary areas. This audit tool will keep Queensbridge proficient for annual CCC and state inspections and audits. The labor management team's mission is to evaluate industry broad labor markets and standards to identify trends, best practices, and innovative ways to recruit, train, and retain current staff. The LMT will check with all departments to make sure infrastructure is healthy and running smoothly. The mission of the LMT is a system that will provide management with labor planning and forecasting tools, real-time performance visibility, analytics, labor standards, which aid improvements in management decisions about labor practices, municipality requirements, state requirements. The LMT will assess and record best practices to utilize them to set the bar for industry standards. So the purpose will decrease the inefficiencies with infrastructure and help the business run efficiently by holding everyone accountable and give them the authority needed. Kraken Consulting is a full-service cannabis consulting organization with over 50 years of combined experience. They specialize in seed to harvest, garden management, cannabis market analysis, warehouse configuration, soil blending, concentrate manufacturing, and all aspects of finalizing cannabis products for end user consumption. The operation provides oversight for more than 20,000 plants annually that yield 10,000 pounds of flower and 180 kilograms of concentrates. Kraken leverages industry best practices in tandem with proprietary techniques to achieve consistent, proven results every time. Before we take questions, I'd like to just turn it over to Tiffany Eisen, please.
So that concludes the presentation that we put together, and I just really want to make note that we focused on being fluid and changing to the suggestions and things that the EDC board pointed out. So I did bring forward a consultant that I had from the beginning. However, we were working on more of what our partnership would look like down the line. So just understanding what you guys are looking for and what you need to know now, I did ask him to, he is present here today. So if we have any questions specifically for our mentorship or commercial consultant oversight, Seth is here from Washington State to help us with that as well. Thank you. That's it for me. Thank you.
Hey Tiffany, if I can ask just beforehand, I know you guys went over the building. I don't know that the board is as familiar with the location.
Sure.
Can you review that briefly? I think you went over it pretty quickly. Jeff, you're on mute. I don't know if you're talking to us.
So it's 0 South Washington Street, Norton, Mass. Lot 1. I can give you the actual map and parcel as well.
Did you share an image of that? I may have missed it.
I did, yes. So it's
Okay.
map 24, parcel 62, 0 South Washington Street. Do you want us to pull that screen back up?
I'll ask the board if they're not sure. Is that a yes, Michael? Yes, please, Tiffany.
Sure. We're just pulling it up. There we go.
Sure.
So it's South Washington, not North Washington. That's okay. I thought you said North Washington. I apologize. Because I was like, that means it's on the Mansfield line, and I didn't know where that was.
Yeah, for those of you, I know it's just a cutout of the image, but that's the industrial section that is adjacent to Taunton, so it's over by like the BJ's and Wendy's and things like that. But that's South Washington Street that you can see where the red block is the parcel, and then South Washington kind of wraps around it in circles, just so you're acclimated to where that actually is. So I don't know, Jack, if you're going to talk.
No, I'm just ready to facilitate discussion.
Can I ask Renee a question? Renee, this is for approval of just the process, just so I can. This is for the approval of the HCA. Is that correct?
So our role is to discuss and vote on the HCA. Yes, and then just to provide more context, Michael, after it comes to us, it allows them to file for a provisional license with the CCC. And then upon receipt of the provisional license, they would file for a special permit and site plan approval with the planning board.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to be clear on that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So I have a couple questions. Tiffany, I know that you had sent the board an additional document that kind of outlined the changes that you had put in place from the time that you met with the EDC to present day. Speaking of those, can you give a little context? I know, one of the issues that came from the EDC, one of the comments was in respect to not having experience, particularly in mass cultivation or manufacturing. And I know that you had mentioned that you had hired a consultant. So can you talk a little bit about that, the consultant, and really what are the terms of the consultancy, with the length of the contract, the specific roles and responsibilities? That would certainly help us.
Absolutely. So I do have Seth here, and I can turn it to him in just a moment, but in terms of our contract and the relationship, one of the things that I stressed throughout this process was that, unfortunately, in cannabis, they make you, the state, the CCC, you're required to put together and make business deals without an actual operating business, which then makes my business valuation a little different. So with that being said, we have put all the tools, so to speak, that we need outside of the team in position, but I hadn't really engaged or discussed what did our relationship look like. So since then, I reached out to Seth, and again, we have a previous relationship because we have worked on other projects from a consultant standpoint. So I asked him, can he engage in our project right now? I had solicited him previously, but I did tell him that once I got my license, then I would come back to him, because there isn't much from an operational standpoint that I can do until we go through, like you mentioned, right? We got to get through the planning and the permit. And I believed that I had the tools to get me this far. It was kind of a business decision that I made. However, with respect to the board's, suggestions, and I fully understood that. So I took into reconsideration, and I have contract, and it's not really a contract, but we have a partnership. Because Seth doesn't do contracts, he's a long-term relationship. It's more of a managerial, operational standpoint. Would you guys like me to have him give an introduction, kind of speak on what he does?
Yeah, that would be great.
Sure.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, Seth. Yes.
All right, wonderful. My name is Seth Schamberg. My business is based out of Washington State, though we do conduct operations in California, Oregon, and we're beginning to in Massachusetts as well as Florida. With that being said, I have personally over 10 years experience in this industry, managing facilities that range from 20 to 80,000 square feet. Currently, we are operating about 50,000 square feet in Washington, with terms on the ground to take on a few more facilities currently, as well as, like I said, one in Oregon and California as well. I specialize in cultivation and manufacturing, but I focus quite highly on product accountability, security, and labor management. I think that for the most part sums it up.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll ask if there are any questions from the board.
Excuse me, ma'am, I would also like to add Dave D'Agostino, our attorney. So Dave is actually equity in everyone's name that I gave you. So I do want to make it very clear that Kyle Seavick is not a consultant. He's been my partner since day one, all the way back from the original organizational charts. He actually is financially responsible as well. So the relationship that we've made over the past, this is not our first town. This is not our first business endeavor. Our kids play on the same teams together. He is my business mentor. He will not be a consultant. He will be here day-to-day operations. As a CFO, he has significant oversight on helping me make those day-to-day decisions. I did also bring on Timothy Kelly for Transportation Director. He has extensive background as well from the corporate sector. Fortune 200 company that oversees food distribution. So he oversees over 40,000 loads of, just transportation, just overseeing that logistically for a food company. Edwin also, we brought on also for his corporate background and more so his education and his career path. So Edwin owns a staffing solution company as well as a director for a national company. And where he is significant, he also has been with us, but I didn't present him to the board until I heard and understood your concerns. So he helped me come up with the labor management team. So the gist of that is I would like a liaison from the board, somebody from the community, someone from the non-managerial ranks of our company, as well as the management team to assess the things that we say we're going to do, the concerns that you all have before they become issues. If we put this type of restrictions or boards in place, it helps us stay abreast of the concerns that the community and the town may have before they arise, and this as well as staffing. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question, if we can go back to the presentation briefly. I actually have two questions. One is first on the split units.
Sure.
Are they considered closed loop systems as well?
The split units that are being used for support spaces?
Yes.
Yeah, they're not ducted units. They exchange air within a room itself, so they are technically closed loop, yes.
Okay, and I only ask, I don't know if you're familiar with the terms of the HDA, but the HDA is very clear about utilizing closed air system at the establishment to include the entire facility. So not just the cultivation or manufacturing areas, but the entire facility.
Yep, that's right.
So the tunnel will be negative pressure because it won't be coming out directly.
Yeah, every system in the building, the compressor wall being the primary system, it's a ducted system in that it does duct air into the room, but it exhausts the same, or it returns the same amount of air into, back into the unit, and recirculates that way, taking in 10% outside air with each circulation. So it is a closed loop system, and the other odor mitigation units are kind of internal to the building. They don't exchange air, so they're closed loop as well.
Okay, great, thank you. And then Tiffany, just a question on the property.
Sure.
I know we didn't get the parcel ID until later, so I didn't think about this. But when I was looking at the parcel, and I applied the wetlands theme onto the overlay, like onto the actual GIS, It seems like maybe 80 or 85% of the actual property is wetland, and it's dead center to the property. So I think you mentioned a total of 25,000 square feet for the building. Have you guys had any assessment of that initially in respect to the amount of wetlands that are in this particular parcel and how that building would be situated?
Sure. So pretty much any location that we come across in Massachusetts, with Mass being 70% wetland, we face this battle. So one of the things that Zach did look at, we did look at the wet map overlays, and if given the opportunity to move forward, we will have to commit significant finances to making sure that it's properly engineered and that it's buildable, which there is enough acreage that is not wetlands towards the front, if I'm not mistaken, of the property. But that is something that we did take into consideration, yes, ma'am.
And during our design process, our civil engineer and wetland biologist would need to convey that to both the Norton Conservation Commission and Mass DEP as well.
Excuse me, ma'am, the other thing I would like to add is, I know that previously you may know this, but Zach does have extensive background in growing commercial cultivation present in Massachusetts and previous jobs. South Shore as well, very close to the area. He has gone there, looked at it. So I do want to put that out there as well. So it is something that we took in. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
What other towns have cultivation already established and that you might be able to share? And we know that odor mitigation is a big concern. What are issues? And I'm trying to recall, just I know we've kind of rehashed a lot of these at the EDC, but want to kind of bring them up into the select board meeting as well.
So the biggest ones that have had issues, if I remember correctly, were Franklin and potentially Bellingham, or I might be getting them backwards. But there are multiple cultivation facilities down in Lakeville, and I haven't heard of any issues. And if you guys remember, actually the first cultivator that we talked to, just when we were learning the process, he was up in Maine, but he talked about the fact that they had been there and had not had any complaints, right? And he really focused on the closed air system, the maintenance of the system, and those are kind of the foundational elements to make sure that you don't have additional issues within the community. So if I remember correctly, like I said, I think it's Franklin or Bellingham, or it could be both, but the issue, and I know it went on for quite some time and there were some engagements legally there, but it was on the odor. And I don't know when, Mike, maybe you remember this, when we met with town council, initially when we modified the HCA templates, it was around, not only the delivery, the addition of the delivery, but also about the learnings that they had found over the years because of the odor problems in other places. So, we modified our HCA for that to specifically call out the closed system to make sure it covered the entire facility, because I know there was an issue that she spoke to on that specifically. So, it was nice having somebody representing the town that had experience in this, so that we put the best controls in place that we could. And I think I lost Mike on my screen. But Mike, I don't know if you remember anything more from the conversation to add.
I am here. No. Amy has, Amy Questle has dealt with this in a lot of different communities. So she was very helpful in amending the HCA.
Are there any questions for Queensbridge? Because if not, we can go through and just do a quick review of the HCA.
I just have one question, if I could. Could they email that PowerPoint presentation to us?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Tiffany, is that very different from the initial one that you submitted?
No, it's the exact same one. I just changed the actual title from Board of Selectmen to SelectBoard.
And the board
I
appreciates
made that mistake too.
I'm sorry, I apologize with all due respect to the SelectBoard.
So Mike, you should have that in your email.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
if you do
thank
want
you.
one that says select board so we can post it, that would be great.
And question through Mr. Chairman. I guess the one concern I have, and it's one of those double-edged sword questions. Obviously, from when I sit on the EDC, when Queensbridge came forward and so forth, the presentation and the management team look completely different, and it could be a learning process in this. Do you feel like you're at a point where this is the team you're going to war with, for lack of a better metaphor? Maybe that's the wrong one. This is the team that you're going to be going to do the business with, because it seems to be that you've kind of traded out a lot of people and the model. I mean, the original presentation of what we see now, my hat's off to you, look 1,000 times better, but is this the team that you're going to go to business with?
Yes, so even the folks that were on the previous presentation, they still serve some role here with Queensbridge, whether it is from an internship or support role. The people that you've seen from the beginning are part of the founders. So those folks are part of the team that helps us rise to any concerns that you have. So I have changed our organizational charts based on the recommendations of the board, sir. So this is, hopefully this is it. I don't really want to, if I have to, I'll continue to have my team grow, but as we snowball, I have to rise, and that's what tells me the direction. But this is my C-suite. This is the core group along with Seth. We have Sean, our marketing director, on as well, and Kyle Seed is my partner.
Just for understanding why I asked the question. This is the first time where the town is going into this type of business venture, and it's obviously, it's very, for me, I just want to make sure I don't want to mess this opportunity up, so I want to make sure like this is a stable, and I know mess up isn't the right word, I apologize.
I understand we're looking for consistency to make sure that, we are who we say we are, what we bring forth is who we are. I fully understand that. One of the biggest things with my background is accountability, liability, understanding risk, so I fully understand. And again, I hope that you all understand that the changes that I've made were based on the board's recommendations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jack, if I may, before we move on, I know Laura volunteered from the EDC to represent the comments in the commission, so I'd like to just ask her if she had any questions for the group as well.
I pulled a Michael Units there. Thank you. Sorry. There was something within the presentation that caught my ear that I don't recall, and I do apologize. You made reference to partnership with Kyle, and there was a reference to other businesses in other towns, and I don't recall if we ever knew, have you negotiated an HCA for a cultivation or manufacturing facility with another town, or have you attempted to?
So I proposed a plan to the town of Seacombe originally, and there was only one license, and there were several groups going for the one license. And the other business ventures that we do consult as we propose ourselves, as we open ourselves to you guys as a consultant group, but we do consult on other cannabis endeavors, but no.
Okay.
Not negotiations, so I have not negotiated with another town for my company. No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Renee, can you remind us what the EDC vote was regarding the HCA?
Jack, in this case, there wasn't a vote. I mentioned briefly earlier. It's a bit different than the previous ones where the EDC didn't feel that they were in a position to provide a recommendation. So instead, we provided the document that Laura reviewed, the comments from the commission, the collective comments. Okay. Do you want me to switch over just to discuss the HCA?
Yes, please.
Okay. I know this was sent to the board prior to, just for review. I'll just cover the highlights here. So some of the things to discuss, again, based on what was negotiated and what was offered by the applicant, under the community impact fee, the applicant did offer a 3% community impact fee for the gross sale price of all marijuana infused products that are cultivated or manufactured or distributed from the facility. excuse me. Additionally, for the annual community benefit payment, they did offer the town $40,000 annually for the purposes of funding substance abuse and mental health services, including but not limited to school substance abuse and counseling services. And then there are other costs that are outlined here. Excuse me, similar to what we reviewed previously and what's in the template, just outlining that we do have a local sales tax. It won't affect them. That's primarily based on retail, but they would be responsible for the permit and connection fees, any sort of consulting fees or costs. So when you think about, this property is probably a good one because of the amount of wetlands on it. There's probably going to be quite a bit of research and environmental consultants that are on there, so the applicant would bear the cost of those consultants. And that's something that they would discuss as part of the special permit process that goes through the planning board, but it is outlined in the HCA. Additionally, it does have on here the police officer training, but as the board's discussed previously, we would do that chronologically. So if we were to vote to approve an HCA tonight, they would be the fourth HCA within the town. So this actually wouldn't become due until such point that the police department had a fourth officer trained for the advanced roadside impairment driving enforcement program. Additionally, the applicant offered under the annual charitable and nonprofit contributions $25,000 annually for those charities or nonprofit organizations. And again, as part of the terms of the HCA, it's to be determined by the company and then approved by the town. So similar to what we saw early on where multiple applicants had identified the same organization for charity, our expectation would be that there would be some partnership between the town and the applicant to understand what the needs of the town were at the time, and then some conversation on those, and then they would have the determination of who they'd want to support, and then we would approve that based on their proposal. I did mention early on, and I'll just review as well, the security and safety on this is very similar to the others. Anything that they do, it will be reviewed by the chief and or his delegates to make sure that they're meeting the requirements that they need to. And the CCC has pretty stringent controls in this place, so I'm not concerned with that. But certainly Mike would let us know if there were any concerns that came from Chief Clark on this particular point. Additionally, we talked about the odor control technology here. As mentioned, they have to utilize a closed air system. Most of this will come out through the special permitting process, but it is captured within the HCA, and that'll help guide the planning board as well as they consider any future permits or applications. The other thing on here, just to mention, in respect to our role, if the town receives 3 or more complaints with respect to odor impacts due to the operation of the establishment, that the company will be required to meet with the select board and then may be required to implement additional mitigation measures within a specific time frame that we would identify. So that is in here. From perspective of what we want to make sure of too is that if we receive a complaint, even if it's one that maybe it came through anonymously, we did indicate in here that we would, through the town manager, notify the applicant as well for any complaint that we would receive, so they have time to address it and, again, understand it. Excuse me. In the event that there's a fourth complaint and at the discretion of the select board, if the odor complaints haven't been adequately addressed, then the select board may terminate the HCA. The terms are similar to the others, so nothing has changed with the in respect to, I'm just scrolling through here, any of the terms or the severability that we have seen in the past. So I think that I focused on the primary areas here of the differences in this HCA and the Queensbridge application. But I'll take questions if anyone has any from the board.
So, thanks, Ron. I'll open it up. Seeing nothing, which indicates to me that you've done a fantastic job educating us on this particular matter over the recent weeks, which we greatly appreciate. On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank the Queensbridge team for coming and spending time with us tonight and presenting. And if there's no further discussion or comment, Renee, you prepared to move to a vote?
Excuse me, if I just make one statement, that I do want to leave you guys with confidence that we will not fail. We do have a high level of expertise, and we're all ready to really crush this opportunity and set the benchmark in Massachusetts. I just want to let you guys know that we're here, we're committed, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that. All right, so with no further discussion, the chair would entertain a motion to approve the HCA agreement as presented to Queensbridge.
So moved.
Second.
Second from Christine. We'll go to the roll. Meg?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Michael? Michael?
You're on mute, Michael.
The same no action, yeah.
Okay. I will be a yes. So that is 4-1. So the vote carries. Congratulations and best of luck to you and your team, Queensbridge. And we look forward to seeing more of you through the upcoming permitting hearings and public hearings and all that. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck, good luck, good luck.
Tiffany, Tiffany, just so you know, what we'll do is we have a electronic signature process. So Mike will process this. It'll go through the board, and then it'll. I believe Mike, she's final on the electronic signature.
Yes. I'll have you all sign it, and then Tiffany will be on there too.
Okay. So Tiffany, I'll confirm the email address that you want that sent to and provide it to Mike.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, thank you, Laura Parker, for coming and presenting the EDC perspective for this. And Renee, for you and the rest of the EDC, Michael as well, for all the hard work that went into develop that case. All right. Moving on to our last item of new business tonight, discussion and/or vote to authorize the town manager to execute certificate of donation and entity authorization regarding the 0 North Washington Street for the Norton Rail Trail project. Mike, please take it away and educate us on what this is.
All right, thank you. So this comes down to the issue that we've talked about previously, where this is land that we didn't even know that we owned. That it's part of the title search that was done and determined that some of the parcels along the railroad right of way, the railroad never actually took the land; they just took rights across the land. So basically, it's part of the easement. Well, actually, we always assumed it was owned by Mansfield, then deeded over to the MFN. But now it turns out, based on going way back in the titles, we actually have some rights to this land. We're not using it, and we don't even show it on the assessor's map as being part of our land. So this would just give easement rights to the rail trail to be constructed across that property.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Michael.
So that's great that the rail trail is still moving forward, but does Mansfield own it? So will we own the land, or are we deeding it to them?
Right now, we're just giving an easement for the rail trail, but the MFN is in the process of actually straightening out the title so they can actually gain possession of these parcels.
By vote, or is that right? So what I'm asking is, are we surrendering the land that's in Norton to it, and what's the impact of that? I mean, I'd rather keep control of the land. I don't want to hold up the project, but I'd rather keep control of the land.
It's land that right now, if you looked on the assessor's map, we don't even think we own it. It's part of that land that was Mansfield bought in bankruptcy court, where the sewer trunk line was put down, And if it wasn't for this title search, it wouldn't even be coming up. So right now, it's just to give the bike trail the rights to put a trail across there.
Okay, so maybe I'm just confused. The Department of Transportation is building the bike trail, correct?
Correct.
The Norton portion, so who, I mean, is it Mansfield that's building this bike trail through a grant through the, because I don't know the land, if this is,
The state is building the bike trail.
okay. So, and I don't think this is a mistake, and it sounds kind of jerky that we're like, oh yeah, I know you did it and it's a mistake, but I'd rather keep the land. Wouldn't we want to keep?
Why would you want that?
Well, land is the only land that's controlled.
But there's a sewer pipe on it right now. I mean, the Mansfield, Foxborough, Norton Sewer District will be working to straighten out that title for possession of the property. But as of right now, we're just seeking an easement to be able to construct the trail.
Yeah, I don't know the easement. That's not a problem, but this will ultimately end up.
So the question, so if we don't donate it, then we're gonna, so think of, you're a homeowner and you say, I'm not gonna donate this easement. If you're a homeowner and you said you weren't gonna donate this, then we'd do an appraisal and then we'd give you money for the easement. And if you didn't agree, it would be taken by eminent domain and would give you money for the easement based on the appraisal. So one way or the other, it's becoming an easement. So this is just saying, why are we going to have to go through this appraisal and everything else when we're the town building a bike path? We're just giving it.
Why are we giving Norton land to Mansfield?
Well, right now you're not. Eventually, the MFN will be coming to the town of Norton to try and get the title straightened out and have possession of that land. Right now, the town is just granting an easement for the bike trail to go across.
I agree. I agree with the easement. I completely understand that. But ownership of the land is different than, I guess if you have an easement, it's losing land anyways, but.
Well, it's gonna, I mean, we're kind of getting off the track because we're getting into that, but eventually it will come down to the MFN will have the property appraised and the MFN will say to the town, look, you can either give it to us or this is what we'll pay for it. And the town either accepts it or not, but eventually the sewer district will take it by eminent domain too. But we're getting off the path. Right now, it's just the easement.
Okay. Can I just ask a clarifying question? And
Sure.
Perhaps it's the phrasing on the item that's on the agenda. So you keep referring, Mike, to the easements and not anything to do with ownership of the land, yet the item on the agenda is a certificate of donation. So I think that could be where Michael is getting hung up. If we are truly talking about two separate things that require two separate votes, I think we can split the two and address the more immediate one about the easement granting and wait on the ownership or donation.
Yeah, this is a certificate of donation of an easement across the property.
Okay, so we're not donating ownership rights, we are donating the easement rights.
Right.
And the easement is, there's no way the bike path happens without the easement.
Correct.
Because it's Mansfield's grant from the state?
No, we're not giving Mansfield an easement. We're granting an easement for the state to build a bike path in Norton on this property.
So the easement goes to the state of Massachusetts.
Right. Or whoever, yeah. It's a federal aid acquisition because they're using federal money. So it's strictly to construct the rail trail.
Yeah, but doesn't Mansfield maintain their bike path? So I mean, if we were giving an easement, right, wouldn't that mean that they would maintain it and all that good stuff, right? I mean, this is...
No, we'll be maintaining the bike path in Norton.
Say again?
We will be maintaining the bike path in Norton.
Okay. I'm missing something here. I apologize. I don't mean to be difficult.
So there's a bike trail that's being built. Mansfield is extending their bike trail from Fruit Street to the town line. We're building a bike trail from the Mansfield town line to Crane Street. And in order to construct that trail, we need an easement across this property.
And this is town-owned land?
It is.
Previous to this, we did not know it was town-owned land, correct?
Right. So we have to grant the easement for the construction of the bike trail.
We can't just give them permission to build a bike trail on there, a 99-year lease or something like that without an easement?
No, we have to grant the easement.
Isn't that what an easement is? Giving them permission to build?
No, that's a permit, that's part of the deed. That, it's different, Renee, in easements, you can't, I mean, yeah, I mean, it is usage of land, and this land is gonna develop for anything else, it's just, I'm not in a rush, we're gonna maintain the property, which we will. I wanna try to control the property as much as we can. Maybe it doesn't do that, right? I mean,
if you don't grant the easement, then the bike trail doesn't get built.
I don't know enough about it.
You have in your packet. You do have the plans, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the plan, the first one you see is is the assessor's map. And that little sliver that's 40 feet on one side, 196 along the street, and then 191 along the back line, that's what we believe we own right now. But if you go to the plan from the engineers, it shows that parcel, and you can see the first portion is what is shown on the assessor's map that we assume we own. But we own more than that because of the title issue. We own that strip that's behind that actually is part of the easement, right, or the part of the land that we always assumed was owned by the MFN. And so now we're granting an easement across that to construct that rail trail that you see shown on that plan.
So I think I stumbled down the same rabbit hole that Michael opened up, and I guess I'm getting hung up on this easement versus donation language. I'm trying to read up on the definition of easements and what that means in terms of ownership rights of the land, and I've read two completely contradictory things, so the internet is not being very helpful tonight.
No,
So,
Jack, that's how law works.
I know. But looking at what I think is page 29 in our packet, it says certificate of donation, and just before the bolded section, about 2/3 of the way down, it says the conveyance of this/these parcels will be accomplished by deed or by order of taking and recorded in the Bristol County Northern District Registry of Deeds. So that, to me, does confirm that the ownership rights of this land are being transferred through this, not just the rights of access that I would expect. One definition of the easement that I've read.
So, and if you look at what I gave you, the certificate of donation, it says that what you're donating is a permanent easement, which is the NE 34 shown on that plan.
I guess the language is just really tripping me up, and I apologize if it's just me at this point.
Well, this, because he does basically, on the certificate of donation, it talks about permanent easement, and it says EN-E-34, and then it says, down below that, says temporary easement, and then it says the term must be approved by the Department of Transportation. So, all right, Mike, I'm going to get greedy here for the town. Why wouldn't we make these parties pay us?
Because it's the town, where the town's paying for all the easements. So you'd be getting paid by the town. And so the town would pay the town.
Or a bike trail that the town wants.
So if you remember at the last town meeting, we authorized $700,000 for the purchase of these easements. And what we're hoping is that homeowners that are in this situation where the only reason we're addressing it with them is because of this title situation. It's land they're not using. It's land that's already used for the MFN sewer district. We're hoping that they will donate the easement rather than make us go through the process of buying the easement off of them.
But if we approve the easement, I'm sorry, I guess I misunderstood something. When we approve the easement and then do donate the land, MFN would have to come to us and buy that piece of land, or the sewer department would have to take the easement.
If the MFN is going to straighten out that title, they would come to us to buy the land.
And that wouldn't affect taxpayers.
Well, it would affect the water and sewer users. It would affect the sewer users. It would come out of sewer fees.
So, but realistically, this looks like 9,078 square feet of land in effectively no man's land along the train. I can't imagine that there is much value there. And we do want this rail trail, so that sort of weakens any bargaining position that we may have to do this. So, Michael, I see your point, and I realize that it is confusing. Ultimately, I am on team get the rail trail built. So if this is the way to do that, I'm willing to make that sacrifice.
This whole thing seems a little backwards to me, and I apologize if I'm not getting it, but it just seems a little back.
I can see where you're getting tripped up, because part of that got me too. All right. Any further discussion on this topic? All right. Chair would entertain a motion to approve. All right, let's see here. Approve or authorize the town manager to execute the certificate of donation and entity authorization regarding 0 North Washington Street for the Norton Rail Trail project.
So moved. Second.
Let's say Renee with the motion, Christine with the second. We'll go to the vote. Meg?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Michael?
I'm going to abstain, Jeff.
Okay. And I am a yes. So that would be 4-0-1.
Sorry, Jen.
All right. Mr. Town Manager, anything else under new business this evening?
No.
All right, we will jump into our old business. The first of which is a review and/or vote to approve the mitigation grant agreement with American Outdoor Advertising 2 LLC. Before we get into this and one of the future ones, I know things got a little bit, I don't want to say heated, but they got a little warm last time. So just like to ask all parties that will participate to just treat each other and the board with respect and consideration. We will do the same for for you guys, as we always do. Hoping we can have a productive discussion and come to a resolution of some form or fashion for these items. So with that, we'll turn it back over to American Outdoor Advertising and Mr. Town Manager.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I know that American Outdoor is on tonight. Unfortunately, I know our council has not finished reviewing the agreement, but I think Outdoor Advertising would like to see if you have any questions about the material that they sent to you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman.
For the record, David Mnuchin, I'm here tonight representing American Outdoor Advertising. With me tonight is also Stephen Ross, that's principal online. We have submitted some information that we hope responded to the several members' requests that were made last Thursday. We'd be happy to answer any questions with respect thereto. I think the information was pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions, again, we'd be happy to address them with you. Before you may or may not ask questions, I was hoping that your council would be with us tonight. I think some of the questions, and again, Mr. Chairman, if I'm wrong, please correct me, that the board had asked last week was whether or not you could entertain more than one mitigation agreement. We asserted that the town could. In many jurisdictions, towns have entered into more than one mitigation agreement to accommodate several signs. I know my client indicated that Stoneham, Lawrence, and Haverhill have been some communities that have done that, as well as Tewksbury. The mitigation agreement you see before you tonight that you're pondering was offered by the town to my client. He quickly signed it and returned it and didn't object to any of its provisions. So we're assuming that that agreement was vetted by at least someone in the town, or perhaps town council, but we're not sure. But nonetheless, we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Attorney Nugent. Before we get started, I would like to ask the board to consider an expectation of this item, that if we do choose to vote on this, that we do so after we address item number 3 under new business, which would deal with Carroll Advertising. I think that the two are intrinsically linked, and I'd like to make sure that we're considering them in the same reality as we go forward. Is that reasonable?
Very much so.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. With that, please open it up for questions to Attorney Mnuchin.
I just have a question regarding the lighting study. I think I might just be misreading it. So when it's, I think I just might not know what it is. If you could, if you know anything about it, because I'm looking at the picture and obviously it's the sign is going to go right near the extended stay. And just if you could correct me if I'm wrong. So is essentially this study saying, based on that chart on the page prior, it's saying that it's not gonna cause a problem based on the viewing angle?
Steve, can you address that?
Absolutely. Stephen Ross with American Outdoor Advertising here. What happens on the light studies is it shows the light reflection and the ambient light from different angles. And the further the degree is, the less visible the light is. So I asked the people to put together a study. I said, I see what you're saying. I see the percentages of foot candles. I go, can you put that in layman's terms for me? What will the result be on the extended stay in America? What will the light effect be like? And the response was, it's like if you looked across the street at your neighbor had a 60-watt light bulb on his front porch and they could view that. I then further asked, I said, I know that you also have light blocking louvers that can be added to a side of a sign. And the response was absolutely. And they have sent me another light study, which would absolutely mitigate any light onto the extended stay hotel. So we are happy to utilize that on the digital face that faces the extended stay.
And in addition, that's going to be uploaded to the planning board's application site, so that could be part of the planning board hearing for its consideration on January 4th.
Okay, yeah, just because my only concern was like that if you're looking at like the building, the like top right corner, it's at, you know, the angle 50 or 60 to, you know, and that's 100 feet away. So based on that, you know, it's not a lot, you know, but it was, you know, just consider it. But yeah, adding the blockers would definitely help. So thank you for answering my question.
Absolutely.
Any other questions from the board?
I have a couple questions, Jack. And maybe I'll address this to Mike first. So Mike, I'm looking at this. I see that within the agreement, it says the businesses have 15% discount. Is there any, for lack of a better term, free time offered for the town for the use of the billboard?
There is.
And where is that in the, what section is that in?
Let's see.
Paragraph 4.
For digital billboards in
Okay,
addition to, yep.
Sorry, I got to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and I think skipped to the next one. And what's the requirement imposed by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts if we were to have an equal amount of time?
Commonwealth of Massachusetts gets 15 hours per digital face, spaced out equally throughout all day parts. And that's a minimum. So if we have additional unsold time, the town could get significantly more.
That's 15 hours over a year, calendar year?
No, per month, I'm sorry.
Okay. And then, Mike, do we have, for the last item, item number 13, in respect to traffic accidents, do we have the ability to change that from 1 year of installation to 3 years?
I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, and that's no problem from our side either if that had to be changed. That's what was offered to us, but if
Sure.
it's a consensus of the board that you'd like more time, then obviously, you know, you would agree to that.
Yeah, I feel like 1 year, like looking at traffic incidents over 1 year might not be an accurate representation. So I think it would be more conducive to extend that just a bit longer.
The state, I'm sorry, the state of Massachusetts did an initial traffic study to see if digitals had any effect on it, and they took 12 separate digital faces and took all accidents within, I believe it was half a mile of a digital face 12 months prior to it being installed, and then did the same study 12 months after it was installed, and there was no difference at all. So we're fine with doing 3 years if that is better for you.
Okay, great, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, should you decide to vote tonight on this, we would welcome a vote with the motion indicating with the condition that 1 year provision in paragraph 13 be changed to 3 years.
Thank you, sir.
And then I noticed in the language above, it says, actually the second paragraph, it says about locating the billboard structure, static or digital. Is your intention for this to be digital?
Yes.
And is it single or double-sided?
Double-sided.
Double-sided, yes.
And is that still considered one billboard?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I thought so. Do you have any, I have to look at that. Let me look at the map again. I know we have, I think just the angle from one side of it. What is the angle from the other? and potential things in the way where it might be a nuisance to folks.
There's another page that has a diagram that indicates that, and there's nothing within that viewing pattern as far as would be affected.
I don't know. Do we? I see the 495 pictures.
We have a 1,000-foot radius plan too. It shows there's no homes within the 1,000-foot radius.
Mike, is that something that the board received and I'm just not finding it?
It's in the packet.
Just has the, it doesn't have the circle around it, Renee. It has just a straight line, and so then there's kind of a radius off of that 1,000 feet off of that circle.
And it was all emailed to you from me. They came in 3 or 4 different emails.
I may be able to share it, but I think it's in there.
If you can share it, actually, that'd be great.
Okay, let me see if
you don't mind.
I got my technology on right tonight.
I'm making 2 people present to us tonight. Having to use the screen share on Zoom. Not very holiday spirity of us.
Okay, let's see if I can pull this off. 1,000-foot radius plan. My children would be proud.
So that's the hotel, the extended stay, and then is that the Holiday Inn that's hitting it on the bottom tip? Or is that no, that's not the Holiday Inn. That's one of our industrial buildings, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
I'm not specific as to which one.
No, that's right. I finally recognized the pond. Okay, and then the other thing I had a quick question on is in the agreement there was something about you would provide to the town 6 months after the permit was approved the final location of the billboard. Did I read that accurately?
What paragraph are you referring to?
Oh,
if you have it.
Let me look. I didn't write that down in my notes.
Because the final location is to be determined by the approvals by the planning board and any other applicable boards. So the agreement doesn't speak to location, but if it does, it's just going to say we have to report to you what the boards have permitted. That's not something that's unilaterally decided by American.
Okay, I see. It says upon execution of this agreement, you have 6 months to submit to the town a final location for the billboard.
Yeah, that would be and that's through the permitting process, and that's going to happen January 4th of next year. So,
okay, and so, okay, appreciate that. And so where you have this in the diagram, kind of your center point there that you showed us on the radius. So what's the potential that's going to move in any one direction, and how far would that go?
It would be minimal. We have a confined lease area. You have a copy of the lease, but if it moves, it's not going to be more than 10 to 20 feet in one direction. That's our assumption. Steve, you could speak to that, but we've looked at that pretty carefully, and we don't expect that would change too much. But we just don't know if the planning board has a different point of view. But it's our intention to put that in that general area.
Okay. Great, thank you.
And 6 months, Mr. Chairman, is 6 months, 6 months is appropriate enough time to figure that out?
Well, we've already figured that out because it's going to go to the planning board January 4th, and they'll have their hearings. If they want it moved, we'll know pretty quickly. So I think that 6 months speaks to getting the applications filed and a bit of due diligence. But we'll obviously keep the board, the select board, informed at all the stages.
Yeah, it's 6 months to submit the final location for the billboard.
Yeah, and that submission is basically our final location where we want it is the plans you've seen, and that's what we've submitted to the planning board. If that changes, that's obviously within the purview of the planning board, and we'll report that back to you also.
And this is no more questions, Chairman.
Mm-hmm.
The 36 months is the agreement, right? That's exactly what it says here, the final approval of the town within 36 months of execution. That means that they have 36 months to build it from approval stages, Mr. Town Manager.
So if I may,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So once we get it permitted at the local level, then we'll go to the state and get apply for permits there. And once that gets permitted, we'll order the steel. So if I were to give you a timeline, if you approve this in January, we'd probably be on the March or April state meeting, and then we'd, if we got approval there, we order the steel, which is probably 8 to 10 weeks out after that. So I'd say it would be constructed by July.
So the 36 months is more than adequate, though. We're comfortable with that.
Yeah, and my question is moving towards the town manager. I just want to make sure that's how what it is that this agreement is 36 months, just for if it doesn't get built for some reason, you know, all of a sudden, I just want to make sure that this agreement ends in 36 months.
Right.
Okay, great. Any other questions, guys?
No questions, Chef.
Okay. So, seeing that, if the board will allow me, we can shuffle our next two items and bring up the Carroll advertising item next in lieu of the open meeting law response. Any objections to doing that?
None.
All right. Hearing no argument there, we'll welcome back Mr. Carroll regarding vote to authorize Carroll Advertising LLC's transfer of ownership to Outfront Media LLC.
Mr. Chairman, I believe you have the paperwork there that and the request. So hopefully everything's in order.
Thank you very much for sending that in. So if I can attempt to restate part of the complicating factors here, and anyone feel free to stop me. There is a question of exclusivity with regards to the mitigation agreement that Carroll Advertising had previously signed with the town. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that really isn't part of this.
Okay.
What Mr. Carroll is looking for now, the sign that Mr. Carroll has already constructed at 3 Lopes Drive, he is looking to transfer and sell that location, that sign, and to Outfront Media LLC. And as part of that, as part of the mitigation agreement, it states that the Board of Selectmen would have to agree with the transfer. And so what I'm asking is the board to agree to that transfer with the stipulation that we're paid the balance of the mitigation fee that we're currently due, and that Outfront Media agree to execute an agreement that states they'll abide by the other items in that current mitigation agreement. Some of the ones that we talked about in the last mitigation agreement, items 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Those are the those items are the ones that would deal with us being able to advertise on the signs, that local businesses would get a reduction. It's also any amendments to the agreement would have to be agreed to by the select board.
Mike, thank you very much for making that clarification. That does simplify things greatly. So, since we are considering only a transfership of ownership, does anyone have any questions regarding this item?
Jack, I just have a question. Mike, in the transfer, and I apologize, I was kind of reading through the agreement as you were talking, so you may have said it and I just didn't completely catch it, but there's part of this agreement allows for a second sign, right?
Right, that wouldn't be part of this.
So if this gets transferred, then there's no the
Not with the new company, Upfront Media LLC. They'd only be agreeing to the current mitigation agreement would still stay in place for the second sign, but for this sign, I'm just stating that they would have to agree to abide by the discounts for businesses. They'd have to abide by allowing the town time on the signs, allowing us to put an antenna on the sign if we needed, those items. This would just be, that's what some of the requirements that I would have for Outfront Media who's buying that sign.
And it is just the one sign location at 3 Oaks Drive.
Exactly. Right.
Right.
And then what happens to is this agreement still in place then for the second sign with Carol or no?
It would be.
Okay.
Financials, though, the financials wouldn't be, right?
The financials would be, the agreement was $300,000 per sign at the time. So.
Okay. So this is simply they can transfer ownership of the one existing board. The other terms would still remain in place if they pursued a second board.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So we're not transferring the agreement. We're transferring the board with, as you said, those terms of the agreement that you outlined.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. And is that somewhere? I mean, I see that the previous one that we signed, which I know Brad's on, it actually has Brad's signature on it. I see that's the previous one. Do we have like the proposal of what the new one would be? Like the write-up for that one? Or is it just we have to, based on the letter, we would just have to refer to 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14?
I can put them all, I can put them all in the letter too, to spell it out so no one has to go back and look. Sure. I'll put them all in.
Yeah, that would be helpful. And then again, I noticed like item 4 has that same traffic consideration, and it has 1 year, the first year of installation. So if we could modify that to 3.
Okay.
In the new agreement.
And I'll have a signature line for them also.
Okay. And I imagine that we would take out that section that talks about Carol providing a traffic study.
Correct.
Okay.
I just want to point out that dealing with chairing the meeting and braiding his daughter's hair, I'm telling you, this man can do anything. I'm not sure if good for you, Jack.
I've got my simple braids down. Don't ask me to do a French braid, Michael. It's not going to go well for me.
I was really impressed. I wanted to say something while you were doing it, but I didn't want to mess you up.
I didn't see it. I was looking at something else. Can we do a replay?
That's the replay on Norton Media Center or on YouTube.
I apologize to Mr. Carroll for the comments. It just changed direction. So this is just the agreement to transfer that. And Mike, how quickly is there any kind of how quickly we'll see a mitigation agreement from them after closing? Is there any words on that?
What did you say, Mike, about the mitigation agreement?
Is there any time frame here, extending the agreement? So is there any time frame? I'm trying to see what the time frame, if the closing happens, if Mr. Carroll sells the sign, when will we see a mitigation agreement from them?
You technically won't see they'll sign what I'd want before we transfer this, that they'd sign the letter agreeing that they're going to abide by all these items. They're not going to be paying us any more money. We already received that as part of this sign. It would just be that they'd agree to all the items that were in the mitigation agreement that we want to continue.
It'll be a memo of understanding or a letter of agreement or whatever it is.
Right.
And Mike, did you say how much, what are the payments outstanding? Like that would be completed upon this transfer?
So the total for this sign was 350.
5 remaining.
Go ahead, Joe.
5 remaining. 255, Mike, remaining.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions, comments, thoughts? All right, seeing none, and seeing as how, as presented, this does not actually tie back to the other item, Chair would entertain a motion to approve, let's scroll 50 pages back to the top of this, to authorize Carroll Advertising LLC's transfer of ownership to Outfront Media LLC for the 3 Ropes Drive sign with all the stipulations and provisions already outlined by Town Manager and Renee.
So moved.
All right, second.
All right. Motion from Renee, second from Michael. We'll go to the vote. Meg?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
I too am a yes. Mr. Carroll, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll.
Thank you.
Okay, as we unstack the pile, let's go back to the mitigation grant agreement with American Outdoor Advertising. Mr. Manager, you had mentioned previously that we had asked Town Council to be present, and they were unable. I don't know if any members of the board have questions that they would prefer to ask of Town Council in an open forum such as this to clarify any further understanding.
And Mr. Chairman, I absolutely, I think there's some confusion on my part at least on, the mitigation agreement as if it's an understanding or it's a contract. And I understand, I want to hear Town Council weigh in on that before we take a vote on any mitigation plan. I understand that it could be considered an HJ. You could have several mitigation plans out there, but the wording that we have a limited number of spots that these are going to go, and they're very similar areas. And I feel uncomfortable without getting Town Council involved. So if possible, and I know I would love to see if this could be put off until our next meeting until we can get Town Council on. Answer our questions.
Michael, I tend to agree with you as well. As I started when we talked about the last item, that question of exclusivity that Mr. Carroll felt that he had, for me, is still open. It's unclear, and that makes me uncomfortable. I would rather have someone from KP Law online to answer questions in real time. If the board would be so kind to entertain moving this to...
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just before you take any action, just for the record, and I don't mean to be contentious, but we have a hearing before the planning board, as is Mr. Carroll, for his second sign on January 4th. By not taking action granting us an agreement, you technically give us a little bit of a disadvantage, a competitive disadvantage, because we can represent to the planning board that we've signed this and we're awaiting your determination whether you go up or down. But and I understand your concerns with the exclusivity provision that Mr. Carroll asserts. However, I just want to point out for the record that my client's rights may be abridged if you decide not to take any affirmative action at some point. My previous opinion is, and obviously subject to Town Council's view, is that the town can't grant any type of exclusivity provisions because you chill my client's rights to petition the town for relief and give one side a competitive advantage over the other. So I just wanted to state that for the record, Mr. Chairman, and obviously we'll defer to the board's course of action.
Thank you for for that, Attorney Nugent. Mike, Mr. Town Manager, Mike, is there any way to address Attorney Nugent's concerns for his client with the hearing on January 4th, or is, are we sort of where we are?
I think we're kind of where we are. I'll let the planning board know, and I'm sure it's going to be more than one night of a hearing. I'm sure I'd be surprised if they finish it in one night. So I'll let them know that we're still waiting for an answer from town council.
And that would be appreciated, ladies and gentlemen of the board, greatly. Also, if you could put us on for your next meeting, if possible, that would be appreciated.
That would be my goal, sir. So, Mike, if we can really get a commitment from whether it's Sharon or someone else at KP for Wednesday the 5th, I do appreciate the patience that Attorney Eugene has shown. I understand that that does not come easy, and we appreciate that. And hopefully we'll see you on the 5th. So, Mike, if we can lock that down tomorrow so they can plan accordingly, and we can let Paul and the planning board know that this is the plan of action and just try to stick to it.
Okay.
Okay. Very good.
And Mike, can I ask, why is this coming to us so late? Why is it scheduled to be in front of the planning board with only coming to the select board weeks before?
What's that?
This particular mitigation agreement. I mean, I understand what he's saying. He's concerned about January 4th, but in my eyes, it should have been to the Board of Selectmen. Oh my God, I just said it.
Mr. Chairman, if I can address Ms. Healy's concerns.
Yes, please.
Ms. Healy, what we did is we approached Mr. Units about entering into a mitigation agreement. That was several weeks ago. We got the agreement, signed it properly, and returned it. But we also promptly filed with the planning board to get a hearing date. So these were running on concurrent tracks. There is no precondition that we first have to obtain a mitigation agreement. We're free to pursue our permits with the planning board without first obtaining a mitigation agreement. However, we want to provide the town some largesse if we get a permit, so that this wasn't something that was done consciously or unconsciously. It's just the way it flowed. As soon as we get the mitigation agreement, we then filed with the planning board because we wanted to at least have something signed and returned to the town before we filed with the planning board. And we did that, and then we filed maybe a day or so after with the planning board. The planning board acted with great alacrity to get us a hearing date in early January. So, it wasn't anything timing that my client or I orchestrated.
No, I appreciate that. I guess it's, you made comments about competitive advantage. So, in my eyes, if you were concerned with competitive advantage, I would have, made sure that the select board were in a position to.
Well, the other side of that competitive advantage is Mr.
It's getting in front of the planning board.
Yeah,
right.
Mr. Carroll filed shortly after we did, so.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Planning board.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to seeing you hopefully in two weeks? 2-ish weeks?
January 5th, hopefully at the Norton Media Center, right, Jack?
I do hope we are back in person, Peter.
Just the way I've seen talking to some doctors I know in the local hospitals, I'm cautiously optimistic that can happen, but we all have to keep our fingers crossed.
Yes. All right. Well, to conclusion, I hope you and yours have a safe and healthy holiday season, and we'll see you after the new year.
Thank you, folks. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Take care.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
All right. Which brings us back to item number 2, a discussion and or vote regarding open meeting law complaint regarding Oasis of Tranquility, Inc. Mike, can you summarize that for us and the folks at home?
Sure. So we received an open meeting law complaint that we directed to our council to address with the Attorney General. And council has prepared a letter that she's looking for your authorization to submit it to the Attorney General. And basically, I'll go to the second paragraph. In the complaint, Oasis alleges that the board violated the open meeting law by failing to provide a minimum of 48 hours advance notice of the board's September 29th public meeting to deliberate and vote upon Oasis petition for a host community agreement. And so a copy of the complaint supporting correspondence is attached. Where the board did not meet on September 29th and instead met on September 30th, it is possible, therefore, that this complaint, based on the erroneous assumption about the date of the meeting, the town submits that notice for the September 30th meeting containing an item to discuss a request by Oasis of Tranquility for a host community agreement was properly posted more than 48 hours in advance. And further, the open meeting law does not require the town to notify any particular entity or person that it/they will be discussed in an open meeting. The board submits further that whether and how the board chooses to exercise its discretion as to execution of a host community agreement is not an open meeting law issue. And the agenda for the meeting will be provided to the Attorney General, and then they go into the application of the relevant laws and facts. But basically, our council is stating we posted the meeting like we're required to post a meeting 48 hours in advance with an agenda. So we addressed anything that was on that agenda.
Chairman, just for the record, I won't go a lot of this, but I just want to, a lot of people don't have the documents that we have. This was submitted by Attorney Elizabeth Clegg Esquire on behalf of Genesi Israel, president of Oasis of Tranquility, not the restaurant or bar. I just want to make sure people that are coming in that they're not, obviously some people follow our meetings coming in. I just want to make sure that was in reference to that.
Thank you for clarifying that, Michael. So, Mike, if I were to summarize a couple bullet points there. One, the board meeting was held on September 30th, not the 29th, was posted at least 48 hours in advance, and per open meeting law, individuals are not required to be notified that a matter will be discussed that will affect them. And I will add that we typically do not reach out to anyone about the ongoing matters beyond posting our agendas. So it's not a deviation from any sort of standard protocol there as well.
And on the agenda was listed discussion and or vote to approve a host community agreement with Oasis of Tranquility.
Any questions, comments on this letter?
Mike, my only comment on the letter, I know that he put in the link to the actual agenda item. I didn't know if we wanted to back that link up to actually show, like it shows the timestamp of when it was posted on there, and I think it was posted like 7 minutes after it was timestamped.
Mm-hmm.
So I can send you that link. It's just something that might make it easier for BAG in their review.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further questions, comments? All right. Seeing none, Mike, thank you for citing that letter. Chair would entertain a motion to authorize the response regarding the open meeting law complaint regarding Oasis of Tranquility, Inc. From KP Law to the Attorney General.
Okay.
All right, motion from Michael, second from Renee. Meg?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
Christine? seems to close out our old business, which brings us to town manager's report. And I apologize, I need to step away for just one moment, so I will be listening. Mike, please take it away.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, before you start, if you didn't see, we had the appearance of Michael's cat. So that,
Oh, I
that
missed that.
signifies that you need to wrap it up.
I just have a quick update. We're moving on. The building committee voted on Monday night to award a contract, well, not to award the contract yet, but they voted to recommend that DBVW be hired as the architect for the senior center and the new town hall. So now we'll have to negotiate a contract with them, see if we can be successful in that, and hopefully we'll start going on the design.
Mike, could you repeat that firm again? Is DDBW?
DB as in boy, VW as in the German car.
This is good news. Were there any high points that separated them from any of the other design firms?
Yeah, there were the three that we did interview at the end. I mean, they were all very good. But the feeling just was that, they give a good presentation. They know they have a good staff, and they're a size that they'll be able to handle both projects. And by having one architect handle both projects, there may be some economy of scale there, where they're in town, and handling both projects, it could be a benefit.
Thanks, Mike. Any further questions for Mr. Town Manager this evening? Okay. I'm sorry, I just popped a Hershey Kiss before that conversation ended and caught me off guard.
All right, Jack.
That brings us to Select Board's report and mail. Nothing. We'll move right on to warrants and minutes. I've approved payroll warrant PR 22-13 for the week ended December 11th, 2021, and warrant dated December 16th, 2021, in the amount of, there's actually not a dollar amount there, so I'll have to come back to that one. Invoice warrant AP 22-25, dated December 16th, 2021, in the amount of $93,246.29. If you give me just one moment, I'll pull up the other one. If anybody would like to do the Jeopardy theme song while I go through my documents. All right, Peter, I found it. Perfect. That was exactly the inspiration I needed. So PR 22-13 was in the amount of $1,529,309.89. So that closes out that, and then we go into.
Hey, Jack.
Hey, Renee.
I'm sorry. I was muted when you asked for the board's report and mail, and then by the time I unmuted, you had started speaking. Can we go back to that for just a moment?
I'll allow it.
Thank you. I just had, I received a couple emails that I wanted to give an update since we're going into year end from the applicants who were awarded HCAs previously. So just an update. Exit 10 reached out to me and just wanted to inform the board that they had signed the P&S and they're moving forward. They're still doing due diligence on the property, but they did want to indicate that they continue to see forward progress. So it's good. And then additionally, in respect to Lucky Green Ladies, I had some email correspondence with Alyssa. She hadn't received her provisional license when we spoke. This was about, oh God, I was going to say a week ago, but it's middle of the month. So about 2 weeks ago, the application was complete and their background checks are being done, but they needed to verify a couple pieces of information. So She has met with Paul and his staff already to review the special permit and the site plan to make sure that they're ready for submission to the planning board once they get the provisional license. And then additionally, I don't know who's been passed the area for solar retail Norton, but they actually, it looks like they enclosed the facility. When I spoke to Andre last, they were hoping to get the pavement in before it got too cold. And that would put them on target to open end of the month or early January, but I didn't see that. There's quite a bit of dirt coming out of there, so I don't know what their plans are now, but did want to provide that update. And he said he'd reach out to me when he had some information, but I'll probably give him a call. But just wanted to let you guys know that, you know, all three of those, I've just been in touch with them, just you know, keeping contact with them to see if there are any issues or anything that they need, you know, for support to continue on the process. So things seem to be going well.
Awesome, and thank you very much for that update. Very exciting to see, and I have seen the progress down off of 140. Very exciting to see that come together.
Good.
Yeah, it looks like a really nice building. So compared to a small shack that was there before. I have asked for a waterfall to come back though.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Okay. Thank you, Renee. Apologize for blowing past you before.
That was my fault.
I believe we are finally ready to approve the minutes from October 14th. I think Jen sent around those final round of edits. So if we're good with that, Chair, I'm seeing a motion to approve the minutes from October 14th, 2021. We have a second. Okay. Motion from Michael, second from Christine. Meg?
Yes.
Renee?
I'm going to say yes, but to be honest, I hadn't had a chance to read the update. So if the board has, I will support that and vote yes.
Okay. Christine?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
2 and a yes. And congratulations, people. We have cleared the minute backlog. Thank you very much for all the effort to get that done.
Grandma would be on, so we figured we would impress them by clearing out our minutes.
Absolutely. Gets on, he sees one thing to approve. These guys know what they're doing.
Yeah, I would like just to reiterate too, you know, the board's wishes last time to just make sure that we have the draft meeting minutes up there. So if we do run into an issue again where we're moving this section because of our long agendas, that we at least have something posted for the public.
I think we had talked about putting this towards the front of the meeting as well, so that it did not become constant football that gets kicked to next time. So maybe if we can put that just under public comment, Jen?
We're starting that as a new 2022.
Yeah, why not? Let's get crazy.
Let's do it.
Wednesday nights, new order. Down with that.
Who's gonna forget that it's Wednesday night?
That's right. Wednesday night, I may try to make it either at Media Center or on Zoom, or both.
Excellent. Thank you, Peter.
Hopefully it'll stay hybrid, right? Right?
Hope so. Okie dokie. Is there any other business to come before the board this evening before we adjourn or recess into executive session? I do not see anything. So, if everybody else wants to get to page 59 of their packets, helping out with this, I declare under General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21, little A3, that the purpose of the executive session will be to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, i.e. Bell and Music, because a discussion of the strategy in open session could compromise the purpose of the executive session, and with the board to not return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board go into executive session of General Law, Chapter 30A, 21A3, for the purposes and reasons declared by yourself, with the board not to return to open session thereafter.
Second.
Okay, second from Renee. So roll call vote. Meg?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
Christine?
Yes.
Michael?
Aye.
I too am a yes. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We likely will not see you before the holiday, so please enjoy your time with your loved ones. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the new year.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and wish you all good night and stay safe and stay healthy.